Hey, this is Walter Jones.
This is Austin St. John.
And you're listening to
Ranger Danger.
Go, go, Ranger Danger. Go, go, Ranger Danger. Go, go, Ranger Danger. Matt and Michael's Ranger Danger.
Howdy Ranger Danger fans, it's Michael here, just me today. Matt's out partying and going wild. I'm here to talk to you guys about Power Rangers Unite. It's a new Power Rangers card game app that you can get for your phone or iPad. It's available right now on the Apple App Store. I understand that there's an Android version in development. It's not out yet, so those of you on Android phones, sorry, you guys are going to have to wait a little longer. I should say, yeah, it's just come out. I've spent a little bit of time playing it so far. I had a lot of fun. I just wanted to run you guys through some stuff, you know, show you what it's all about, let you know if you might be interested in getting it. Alright, so let's start with the story while I open the app up. So, at the end of the Legendary Battle, which was the stuff that happened at the end of Super Mega Force, all of the Power Rangers who were there got sucked into an alternate dimension with some sort of wormhole thing. Because of magic space-time problems that also included the Dino Charge Rangers, which is, let's be honest, just an excuse so they can have them in the game, but whatever, let's move past it. There's a new enemy. His name is NeroDark, which is either a terrible name or a great name. I haven't quite decided yet. He's got some enemies called Shadows, and he can also summon any of the previous Power Rangers bad guys. So everyone from Lord Zed right through to Emperor Mavro. Look, let's be honest. It's really just an excuse, again, for them to put everyone in the game. No one really is going to get super into the story. It's not voiced or, you know, there's no movies, anything like that. It's just displayed in text-only cutscenes in between the story missions. Which is fine. I don't think anyone's expecting, you know, super top-notch CGI or getting a whole bunch of actors back or anything like that. It's, yeah, it is what it is, and I think as far as that goes, I don't think anyone will be particularly surprised. So, let's start by talking about the gameplay. It's a card game. I'm going to bring up a story mode mission while I talk about it. So, if you've played the Adventure Time card game, it's very similar to that. There's a little bit of Hearthstone as well. Basically, you've got 5 power points each turn. They're like mana in Magic the Gathering. Cards cost between 0 and 5 power points to play. You've each got life points. When those life points reach 0, you lose. You start with 20. That, again, no surprises. On every turn, you can play as many cards as you want, provided you've still got power points. You'll draw 1 at the start. You can draw more for 2 power points each. You can also activate a card ability. For example, some unmorphed Rangers, which you can play for 0 or 1 point, if you activate them for another point, they can morph into a more powerful version of themselves. I actually think that's a really cool mechanic, and it's probably the biggest innovation that this game's got, which you'd expect them to have done something a little special for morphing. So there's 5 lanes, which you'll see here. You can put a Ranger or Zord in the front slot and a support card in the back slot. Rangers and Zords will fight an enemy that's in the lane directly in front of them. If there's no one there, they'll attack the enemy directly. If you've ever played, again, Magic, the Adventure Time card game, Hearthstone, you'll have an idea of how this works. Ranger cards, and also there's Zords, which are generally stronger and more expensive. They've got attack strength on the left and health on the right. There's no defense stat like there are in some other games. So basically the character with the most attack does that much damage minus the enemy's attack. So the attack stat works for both attack and defense. Just let me close out of this. I'm going to have to go through all of this tutorial dialogue, don't mind me. The first mission in the game does a pretty good job of demonstrating to you what exactly it is that you need to do and teaching you how to play the game. I do recommend, while I think of it, that you should make sure you've downloaded the update when you turn it on for the first time. I turned it on for the first time when I was out of Wi-Fi, and I had a lot of cards that didn't have images, which made it super hard to play. So there's some other types of cards as well as Ranger and Zord cards. There's edge cards, which get played face down and triggered by something. There's action cards, which you do straight away. There's gear, which gives characters advantages. And there's tactics, which make interesting things happen. Look, there's nothing groundbreaking here. There's not going to be something that makes you go, wow, I've never seen that before. But it's all reasonably well executed and well put together. There's about 150 cards in the game at the moment. There's about 30 per set, and I'll talk about sets in a bit. With 150, it feels like a lot, but you'll learn them all pretty quickly. I think I've already got a handle on kind of the started deck of 30 cards already. So I imagine with a couple of days, maybe a week or two, you could get pretty familiar with what's on offer and the deck that you make. So there's 2 game modes. There's a story mode. That's got 4 episodes, which you'll see here. The first episode has got 8 missions in it. I'd imagine the rest of them are probably about the same. So that's, each mission is just a single card battle. Some of them are a bit funny, but we'll talk about that later. Look, I'd imagine there's plenty of room for them to expand that over time if the game stays popular. Completing missions earns you coins and sometimes cards. We'll talk about coins a bit later as well. There's also a multiplayer mode. I haven't had the chance to play around with that. You need to be signed into Game Center on your iPhone to do that. And I'd imagine you can play it against someone else who you've got on Game Center. I'll have to convince Matt to set it all up, and we'll give it a go and maybe report back in another podcast. So, like all mobile TCGs, you can customize your deck with a screen that looks like this. At the moment, there's 5 series worth of cards. That's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Samurai, Mega Force, Super Mega Force, and Dino Charge. The deck you start with is Super Mega Force themed. I'd be amazed if over time they don't expand that selection to include a whole bunch of the different series. At the moment, it's kind of the obvious selection. You pick the most recent ones and the classic one to get the old guys in. But I'd really love to see, In Space, Turbo, Lost Galaxy, Dino Thunder, RPM. I'd imagine we'll see all of those guys over time if they keep supporting it. You can mix and match between sets, so you can absolutely have, your Tommy team up with your Troy, team up with your Tyler, if you only want Rangers whose names start with T, I guess, for whatever reason that might be. As you can see, there's quite a few cards available to you. You start with a lot of them, but you can also get more cards. How do you get more cards, I hear you ask? Well, there's a store. Of course there's a store. There's always a store. I don't think anyone would be particularly surprised by that. So here's the deal. There's 3 kinds of packs. There's a power pack, a super pack, and a mega pack. They've got 8, 12, and 30 cards in them respectively. They guarantee a certain number of rare cards. So that's 1 rare card in the power, 3 in the super, 6 in the mega. Basically, the mega pack is the best option, except you can buy a power pack for coins, which you earn after completing missions. So 1 power pack is 99 coins, or it's $1.29. I don't know if that's Australian or American. I'll have to confirm that. The other 2 packs, the Super and the Mega, you can only buy with real money, which is probably not ideal, but that's the way it is, so that's all right. Each pack is specific to a certain series, so if you only want to collect the Mighty Morphin guys and have a really focused Mighty Morphin deck, you can absolutely do that. Disappointingly, there's not a grab bag pack where you can get some from everyone. I'd kind of like that because I don't particularly mind where they come from. But so if I scroll down, the other thing you can see is there's no Dino Charge pack as yet. Maybe they'll unlock the Dino Charge cards throughout the story, or maybe they're as yet to come because we're only 5 or 6 episodes into Dino Charge, and so they don't want to spoil stuff. Again, it would have been nice had it launched with that, but that's just how it is. There is another way you can earn coins, and this is a little weird, so I want to talk about it some. You can just do other stuff. So if I click the Add Coins button at the top, you'll see there's some ads you can watch that are worth a couple of coins. Most of them are only, 2 or 4 or 5 coins. They're not really worth it, given how many you'd need for it to be worth anything. But if you've got an afternoon or, you're sitting on the couch watching TV, there's nothing stopping you watching the videos with your sound off and just earning them for free. There's also some other really, frankly, bizarre things you can do. If you order 250 free business cards from Vistaprint, you get 1,000 coins, which is, a lot of coins. That's 10 packs of cards at this point for free, which is not bad. But it's a little weird. It's a weird choice given the target market for the app. I'd imagine that who they're going for is kids rather than adults like us who are listening to this podcast. But I can't imagine many kids, buying business cards or filling out an airline survey or look, there's a whole range of things. It's a strange choice, and I'd imagine it's their kind of the developer's internal system. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about it yet. You can, if you use the menu, filter just the ones that are showing you a video or just the ones that will give you some for free. That's probably worth doing. I suspect my feeling is do the ones for free and don't bother with the other ones unless you particularly want coins. I'd imagine that they probably work out about the same in terms of dollar value, but having not done any kind of maths about it, I can't tell you specifically. So that's Power Rangers Unite, basically. I don't want to play a game of it or anything. You can do that yourself if you're interested. But I want to go over some pros and cons. So, pros, I spent about half an hour on the train this afternoon playing the game. Like I said earlier, there's nothing in there that's going to make you go, oh, wow. But it's totally solid. It's perfectly well executed. There's some cool things like special rounds in the story mode where the villains have got special cards that they're trying to, if they detonate a bomb, they win and you have to take them out before that. Different victory conditions, the sort of stuff that you can't really do in an actual card game. There's, sometimes the game gives you civilian cards that are worthless and just go there to start with, but they take a bit of damage for you. It's just, some nice touches that it's solid, and I think playing it, you'll have fun. I can't guarantee that you'll be interested in it for the next year, but certainly if you're a Power Rangers fan, I imagine the joy of putting together your dream team and blowing through some of those enemies is probably worth it. The art on all the cards is, quite nice. They're all pretty well put together, as you can see. I guess the Super Mega Force reunion let them get all the suits out, and so they can, take some nice high-resolution photos. You can see that on some of these older cards, the costumes and the photos aren't quite perfect, which I'd imagine is just because there's no high-resolution version of these models anywhere left, which is a shame, and, you know, it would have been nice if they could have get something, but I'd imagine, knowing Saban, that the budget was pretty low. The other advantage to me is there's a ton of room for them to expand this game. You know, there's like 15 seasons that aren't represented yet that they can add cards for at any time. There's also plenty of room for them to add, you know, other characters, additional supporting characters. I'd really love a deck that's just nothing but Ernie. Yeah, there's lots of room for them to grow. I think given that it's been out a day, it's a little... I don't want to judge them too much based on the game so far. But as it stands, it's solid and there's lots of places for them to go. Cons. It's not especially deep. Like I've said a couple of times, if you aren't a Power Rangers fan, there's no real reason to pick up this game over Hearthstone, for instance. If you're looking for that sort of game. You know, it's reasonably light. I'd imagine that it's probably going to be a little tough for kids. Young kids, certainly, but an older kid would have no problem with it. It's not going to become the next Magic the Gathering, you know, there's just not enough depth in it for that sort of thing. But as a game to have on your phone and play on the bus, I've been enjoying it. Another con, the villains have got unique decks. So what I mean by that is there's a Lord Z card and they can play a Lord Z, or there's a Z Putty, or there's all sorts of bad guys. But as far as I can tell, you can't get those cards. That means, say, your team can't have the Dino Charge Rangers and Rita Repulsor on it. Which, at least for now, is a little disappointing, because I think that would have been quite fun. But, you know, maybe they'll open that up in the future. That's certainly an avenue they could go down. And from a story point of view, it does make sense. One last con, I'm really not a fan of how that store works with the surveys and stuff you can actually buy to get fake money to buy real coins. I think it's much cleaner just offering people the ability to, you know, pay for things with their own money or not. But, you know, I guess you make money however you can, and if these guys make money, they'll support the game for longer. So that's just how it is. I don't feel comfortable giving it a rating at the moment. I don't think I've explored it enough. There's a lot of stuff to do. The other thing I didn't mention is that the story mode missions all get star ratings when you finish them. I'm not quite sure what that's based on. I'd imagine it's the number of turns you win in, or how much health you've got at the end, something like that. So there's lots of replayability, even in just the story missions, if you don't get full stars every time. And as you can see, I've got 3 stars twice, but I've also got 2 stars a couple of times. So the completionist in me is going to have to go back and finish that. So, look, that's a pretty quick run-through of Power Rangers Unite. I imagine we'll get Matt onto it at some point, and he'll talk on the podcast about, you know, what it's like there. But we wanted to get a video out and, you know, let you guys know that this is out and this is something you can have a play around with. So thank you guys for, you know, listening and watching the video. We'll be back with a regular episode on the regular days. You know how it works. And we'll see you soon.